Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how to play One After 909 by the Beatles. I'm going to be going over how to play the anthology version. I think that version is a little bit better. You can still look up, I guess, on other channels or something if you want to learn the Let It Be version. I just don't like it as much. They recorded it live. I think it's a little bit sloppier, and by that time the song is really old for them anyways. I mean, I think John Lennon wrote the song when he was like 17, and then they recorded it still a couple years later in like 1963, and I think it was in the same sessions where they recorded like From Me to You, so it's actually a pretty old song for them, and then they finally released it on Let It Be, but the version they released on Let It Be I don't even think was as good. I don't even think it really has the same spirit and up-tempo beat of the original one. But anyways, enough the background, time to get into how to play this thing. So you'll notice capo on the 2nd fret. The song is in the key of B, so this just is going to make it really easy. I mean, it's just very simple bluesy type song structure here, where you're just doing stuff like. I mean, just stuff like that. That's real simple. Just 3 chords. Well, there's 4 chords in the song, but the 4th chord is the C#7, and I think in the anthology version you maybe only play it twice, so, and it's not that hard anyways. But the rest of the song can just be played with literally B, E, and F#, and when you capo the 2nd fret here, it makes it really easy to play. So, first things first, the song starts off, the anthology version starts off by going from the F# to the E, and then to the B, and that's when you start playing the first verse. There's 2 ways that you can kind of go about this. The easiest way is just to start with the open strings and go here and have your index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, or the 4th fret. Yeah, so it's the 2nd fret from the capo, but the 4th fret overall. So 4th fret of the A string, and then you're going to be using your 3rd finger here, your ring finger, to be pressing down on the 4th string there and just going back and forth, so it gives you that kind of driving sound, that train sound, and that's kind of what they were going for. They were going for that kind of like Rock Island Line, railroad track song, driving song, and so it kind of helps get that effect. So, and then after that one, that's the F#. You go to the E chord here, and then you do the same thing, index finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and then 4th fret with your ring finger. So, and then that's when you go finally down into the B chord here, which is your index finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and then 4th fret with your 3rd finger here. So you can start it off like this. And so you can do that way. Another fun way to do it is just go all the way up here and kind of do the power chords, and it's a little bit trickier. I kind of like that way a little bit better. It's a little bit more difficult to play, but the intro, it kind of has that descending feel to it, like you're just, easing into that B chord there, whereas this is just kind of going back and forth. But if you want to play this, oops, right there. So this is the 9th fret of the A string. Man, I need to drink more coffee here. 9th fret of the A string with your index finger, and then with your ring finger you have it on the 11th fret of the D string, and then this is where you use your pinky finger, so hopefully if you got some good dexterity this won't be a problem for you. But like I said, if you kind of think this is difficult, just use the other way. But then you use the pinky finger to go to the 13th fret here, and then you just do that same pattern, but you shift that whole chord shape down to the 7th fret. And then after that you go back into the B and just play that like I showed you earlier. So, and then at some points during the verse, I mean the whole entire verse is just B, so it's just if you really want to play it easy as well, you can just go. But at some points during the verse, he does a little, I think it's John that's doing this, does a little flourish here. And that's fairly common. But you're using your pinky finger here to get the 7th fret here. So you're kind of bouncing around with these two fingers. So, but anyway, so the verse goes, my baby says she's traveling on the 1 after 909. Move over, honey, traveling on that line. So you can see after the end of, you know, those, well, in the middle of each verse they go. When he's done singing his little line there. But that's all it really takes to get through verse 1. Alright, so we're going to be going into the chorus here now. So you're going to be coming out of that verse going. And then you go into the chorus. I said move over once. So you just hit the B chord right here. And then you mute it afterwards. And then when he says move over twice, you go. So you just do 1, 2, 3, 4 on that B chord. So move over once, move over twice, and then after he says move over twice, you go 1, 2, 3, and then instead of hitting it a 4th time, you go to the E. And then you go into that kind of rocking rhythm. So I said move over once, move over twice. Come on, baby, don't be cold as ice. And then the last part of it, you go back to the B, and then you go back to the F sharp, and then B again. So all together, you got coming out of the first verse. I said move over once, move over twice. Baby, don't be cold as ice. Said she's traveling on the 1 after 909. So that's the chorus. I think it's exactly the same throughout the entire song, so that never changes. The verses don't change either. The only other parts of the song are the bridge and the solo, so I'll be going over those two here in a second. For the bridge, we're going to be adding in a 4th chord, the C#7. So for that, put your index finger on the 4th fret and your ring finger on the 6th fret here, and then you're going to be hammering on and off with your pinky finger on the 8th fret of the D string here, and then kind of play that same driving rhythm. So. But the bridge doesn't start with that, it starts with an E chord, and then it switches to that B chord, and then after that, that's when we go into the new C#7 here, and then we drop into that F sharp. And then the second half of the bridge is exactly the same thing. So you go back to that E, B, C sharp, F sharp, and then yeah, you go into the chorus, or I'm sorry, you go into the 3rd verse after that. So I'll do a quick run through the solo, then I'll explain what I'm doing here. Alright, so it was a little sloppy there, but I think in general that's what's going on. It starts off on the 7th fret G string here. That's all you do right there. Just bend it a little bit. And then after that you also add in the B string down here on the same fret. And you come up here to the 9th fret. Keep your index finger over these two strings again, the G and the B, and then bring your ring finger on the 11th fret of the G string, and then on the 10th fret of the B string put your second finger, and then that's what it should sound like. But you go G string, B string, pull this off, then you play the G string again, and then you move your index finger up here to get the 9th fret of the D string. That's what it should sound like right there. So that's the first part of it. In the second part, you move this down here, put your ring finger on the 9th fret of the D string, put your index finger on the 7th fret of the G string, so you're going on the D string first and then you're playing the G string. And that second note I played there was me putting my ring finger on the 9th fret of the G string. So you're bending it after that. So that last part there is a little bit trickier too. So you go on the 9th fret of the D string, and then to the G string, then bend it, and then this last part you bend it up, pull it down, pull off, and then play the 9th fret of the D string here. So alright, so that part's a little bit challenging. You might want to practice it a couple times. Unless you're pretty good, then you don't need to practice at all, I guess. And then after that, it goes into the other part where you put your index finger on the 7th fret of the A string, and then you're hammering on the 9th fret here, but you're also, with your first finger, covering this 7th fret of the D string. So that's generally what's going on here, but it goes like this. It goes. So you do it twice in a row the same, and then you just hammer it on twice in a row after that, and then play that back end part of it. So from the top. And then after that, you got this part. So you can play that one of two ways. I think in the song it sounds like he's sliding it, and I think this is honestly quite a bit harder, going. But anyways, or the other way is to hammer it on. You can do either way, but the notes I'm playing here are doing, my third finger is on the 11th fret of the G string, my second finger is on the 10th fret of the B string. So we played this formation earlier, but you're sliding from the frets below into that 11th and 10th position here. Or you can just bar it with your index finger here on the 9th fret and do that as well. Just hammer on these two notes right here while your index finger is barring that 9th fret. But either way, you do that a few times. but it's got to end that way, where you hit the 9th fret of the G string, and then you play these notes, the 11th fret of the G string, and you can also play the 10th fret of the B string here, but then you go down here to this note right here, which is the 7th fret of the G string, and then with your 3rd finger you hit this 9th fret of the D string. So that was kind of rough, but it's still close enough. And then after that you go to the final part of it, which is you put your index finger on the 7th fret of the E string, and then you put your pinky finger on the 10th fret of the B string. So what you're doing there is you're hitting the E string, then you're bending the B string, and then you're doing it again. And then the second time you bring it down. And then you hit the 7th fret of the B string, and then you bend the 10th fret of the E string, and then you play that 7th fret of the E string, 10th fret of the B string, 7th fret of the B string. Okay, and then you keep walking it down, so. What all you're doing there is using your ring finger to get the 9th fret of the G string, index on the 7th, then you go to the D string, 9th fret, 7th fret with your index finger, back up to the 9th, and then back to the 7th on the G string. And then you hit that 9th fret again on the, the D string. And then this is kind of tough here. You got to bar all 3 of these. So on the 7th fret you're barring the G, B, and E. So after you play this a little bit, you hit that 9th fret again, and then in this position you hammer on the 9th fret of the G string here, and then you play these 2 strings below it, and you pull off, and then you hit this note again. So 9th fret, then hammer on from the 7th to the 9th, and then hit these 2 notes down here, hammer off from the 9th to the 7th on the G string, and then back to the 9th on the D string. And then after that you play, you do 2 hammer-ons here. So you go on the D string here, you hammer on from the 7th to the 9th fret twice, and then you play the 7th fret on the G string here, and then come back to that 9th fret again. And then the last part right here, you hit the 9th fret on the D string, and then the 7th fret on the G string, and then the final note is you bend this 9th fret of the G string. And then you go back into the verse where. So for a relatively short song, it's like 3 minutes maybe. I know this was kind of a long video, but I wanted to be thorough with it. It's a lot to cover. We covered the intro, we covered the verse, we covered the chorus, we covered the bridge, we covered the entire solo. So it's a lot there to piece together. I'll put a link in the description for the song, the anthology version that I'm talking about, in case you're not super familiar with it. and then yeah, you can just look up the lyrics or something if you want to see how it goes and it all fits together. But I just recommend practicing each little section by itself, especially the solo, and then maybe as you're listening to the song, try to piece them all together. But I promise you, it's not that hard. It's not super hard, and it's definitely a fun song to play once you get it all together.